Hey, this is Brandon McManus, Denver Broncos Super Bowl champion, and you listen to The Scoop on alscoop.com.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Scoop, Season 5, Episode 2. I am John DeCarlo. Today, I have with me Kyle Gauss, Matt Vender, and Graham Foley. What's up, guys?
Not much. Kyle and I are fresh off a 6 a.m. football practice.
Yeah, Matt and I went morning and we did 2 a day today.
Yeah.
We did media coverage while other people were nestled in their beds, dreaming of sugar plums and whatever it is Graham dreams of. And then we're back here for The Scoop.
This Graham's little innocent smile over there.
Yeah, that's about
accurate. That's Christmas in August.
He dreams of sugar plums, something resembling Major League starting pitching, and
bullpen.
that's about
That
it.
didn't take long.
Yeah, right.
You guys haven't had a good Phillies-Braves argument in a while.
I'm not willing to right now. There's almost
He got angry at me. I was in Ocean City, Maryland, and Graham sent me a very angry text, and I was like, whoa, buddy.
Did I?
You were like, you should be 4 for 4. This is ridiculous.
Oh,
Maybe you should go be
yeah,
a Thrashers
yeah,
fan. And I was like, relax.
Well, what was it? You get up at 6 o'clock, go to practice. What was it like? We'll ease right into that. I mean, we've got some basketball talk. Temple's played 2 exhibition games down in the Bahamas. The second game they played was a blowout.
Children of the poor.
Not quite. But we'll get into that. Got some mailbag questions. Again, we'll start. If you guys are listening to this on Wednesday, Kyle and Matt were at Temple's open practice. Again, this is the first of 6 that will be open to the media in their entirety, right?
I believe so.
So you guys were there for 6 a.m. practice. Lots
First
of coffee.
time we've had this kind of access since Matt Rule was here. He used to open up practice. First 5 practices or so would be open.
Yeah.
So this is unique. Well, at least it hasn't been a thing in the past few years.
Yeah, before it used to be you go for the last 15 minutes, and those last 15 minutes are them doing like cool down stretching. So you never saw anything, and they were kind of afraid. And I can tell you that today they were not afraid to show us, like it was an actual practice.
Yeah.
You saw Isaiah Wright in the backfield. You saw jet sweeps from Jaden Blue. You saw Jagger Gardner, Anthony Rizzo audible Jagger Gardner out wide. Like you saw a lot of actual aspects of the offense.
And not to oversimplify things, but it looked like a practice that you would expect. I mean, It didn't look like anything drastically different than the practices Matt Rule used to run. The practices that Jeff Collins would run would have some spectacle to it.
No leprechauns, as you said.
Yeah, there would be that. There would be, the trainers hitting the quarterbacks with noodles, in the middle of practice. Just some spectacle stuff that, maybe would be a little bit for show, maybe to keep the guys engaged. It obviously worked to a certain extent when he was here, but it's definitely a different vibe. There's still music at practice. It's still pretty lively, but at the end of the day, they go to individual drills, kind of a warm-up at the beginning of practice. Then they do team stuff, and, it's 11 on 11. So it's a lot of the same stuff that you would see in a practice, over the past several years of Temple football. It's nothing drastically different, and I think if people got a chance to watch, I don't know if people have general public will have a chance to watch this summer, but it definitely it resembles something that we've seen over the past several years, really.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this a little bit before on air. If they had gone from Matt Rule and hired Rod Carey right after him instead of Jeff Collins, you wouldn't notice any difference.
Yeah.
Like, it's very much, it's a football practice. They're playing the same songs that every other university in the nation is playing during practice.
So a little Yacht Rock, some Kenny Loggins,
Yes.
This is it.
They're running, 20 segments. They're doing that. They have the same stuff as always, the same whistle. People know what to do. Jagger Gardner straight said in an interview, which you can find on our site, he says afterwards, like, this is more like what I wanted. This is more business-like. I'm business-like. The last couple of years were... it might actually have even been Brandon Mack, too. Brandon Mack, I think, said the last couple of years have been a lot more like a spectacle, and like we don't need that. We just need football. A lot of that might also be a little bit sour grapes, like you got left by your coaching staff. But no, I think there's some truth to it. It was the same type of football practice that you're seeing in 128 other programs across the nation.
You're not a morning guy. What was it like being there at 6?
I've become more of a morning guy.
You beat me
honestly.
by a significant amount.
Yeah,
Really?
I've been getting up early. I'm becoming a morning person. I'm forcing myself to. But yeah, I got there 6 a.m. right on the dot. I was right on time.
Matt usually brings his pillow for the road trips.
Yeah, those road trips are how I catch up with my sleep.
Matt texted me like 5:58 and was like, "I'm almost there. Are you still coming?" And I just hadn't even left Glenside yet. I was like, "Yeah, well, there's no traffic at that time in the morning." I was just zooming down Brown Street.
Oh yeah, easy shot
That was
down
great.
down Ridge.
Yeah, but I think it was relatively encouraging. I think you can pretty much, it's very easily defined who's the ones, who's the twos.
Mm-hmm.
You can see who they want to start at these positions. They're mixing some people in. Like, even like quarterback, where Anthony Russo, barring something ridiculous, is most likely starting against Bucknell. Even that, you would see that Tyson Teo would mix in a little bit with the ones, but for the most part, he was the backup quarterback. So it was much more traditional offense, or traditional practice.
Yeah, on defense, it was pretty much the usual suspects, the guys that you would expect to be out there with the first teamers, the linebackers, Sean Bradley, Chappelle Russell were in and out with William Kwanku and Isaiah Graham-Mobley. The defensive line, obviously Dan Archibong was in there. We saw a little bit of some younger guys mixed in, like a Chris Banks got some time.
Yeah, I would say that defensive line and offensive line, the two positions where you say, okay, they have to develop depth, you saw them actively trying to develop depth.
Yeah.
Like defensive tackle, you saw Chris Banks walked in. You saw Kevin Robertson, the transfer from Fullerton College in California, out there. You saw Wisdom Corshi out there a little bit with the twos. Like, they're definitely trying to develop depth. The offensive line, Chris Folks and who else did we kind of see out on the offensive line? You saw Chris Sestilli. You saw J.D. Gomez.
Hooper, the JUCO transfer, we saw him a little bit. So yeah, I mean they're trying. And Mike Yuramovich, the offensive coordinator, he had said that they're still trying to kind of figure out. They feel pretty good about that 5 that they have on the offensive line. All the starters return, but then it kind of becomes a matter of, okay, well, who's going to step in and replace a guy if he goes down? Because in all likelihood, you're probably going to lose a starter or two. We've seen that before. Jovan Fair's been hurt a little bit here and there.
Matt Hennessy missed a couple games.
Guys get banged up. It's bound to happen. So, I think they'd like to see one of those younger offensive linemen kind of blossom, or maybe it's Hooper, the JUCO transfer. He's a reliable backup, but they need somebody to kind of step up there, and so they can kind of have 7 guys that they feel good about.
Let me ask you this. I mean, there are a lot of positions of strength on this team. You guys have kind of hinted at this. What are before we move on to some of the other stuff, the single-digit guys that are in single digits, and some of the other positions, is there an area of concern on this team? Is it just what you guys had said there? Is it just that they haven't found depth yet on either side of the line of scrimmage? Is it a kind of maybe just a little bit of unknown at the safety position? Where do you see areas of concern? Again, it's early, but what?
Yeah, I mean, it's August 6th. A lot can happen between positive and negative can happen between now and Bucknell. But I mean, I think when I look at this roster, when I look at this depth chart, I go, their first team offensive, first team defense is as good as anybody in the conference.
Mm-hmm. It's
that certain positions like offensive line and defensive line, and maybe safety to an extent, though I think the addition of A-Rod Monroe from Penn State helps a lot there. That's that second tier for offensive line, defensive line, that if something goes bad, and all of a sudden you're forced to kind of rely on these guys, well, that can have a way of kind of snowballing. Because if you can't control the line of scrimmage, then it doesn't matter what your running back situation is. If they're running behind a tackle, that can't get his block.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. With running back, I mean, I think it's going to be.
I think that'll work itself.
It's going to be a storyline during training camp, and it should be because they don't have a number one guy. Obviously, Raquel Armstead's gone, but it's going to be a committee thing.
Outside, so Armstead, it was obvious that when Jahad Thomas left, Rockwell Armstead was the next running back up. You kind of saw the progression. Jahad Thomas was a question mark. 2015, They entered the 2015 season, their best season in 30 years. With who's gonna be the running back, we don't know. And instead, a 1,200-yard running back.
Remember, Jahad's thing used to be that he would catch a couple of those screen passes when he'd get caught.
Yeah.
And then the following year, he didn't get caught.
Yeah, and then he ends up finishing like number 3 or number 4 on Temple's all-time all-purpose yards. Like, these things have a way of picking themselves up. There's talent in that room, just nobody's really proven it yet.
Speaking of the running back position, you guys mentioned Kyle Dobbins. His name came up. Again, we're recording this on Tuesday. His name came up today. Obviously, a sort of highly touted recruit coming out of South Jersey. Was at St. Augustine Prep and then finished up at Timber Creek, right? Mm-hmm. At the Prep, his numbers were really good, and then became part of a more loaded offense at Timber Creek.
But can you call it the Prep?
St. Augustine. I called it.
You said the Prep. No, I didn't mean to make fun of you. I'm legitimately asking.
I guess I've just heard people. Obviously, on this side of the river, you're talking about St. Joe's Prep. Yeah. I'm used to people over in South Jersey.
They would refer to that as the Prep.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, John, you would know better than any of us.
It's been a while since I've covered St. Augustine Prep. When I was there, they were a basketball powerhouse, and their football program was just starting to come along. Now it's pretty good. Anyway, with Kyle Dobbins, again, like that's a name that people were kind of looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And now I guess he's starting to flash a little bit. His name came up today. We'll play a clip from him in a second. What was the general gist of what you guys heard about him today? Just that he's starting to just push forward a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit for him, he kind of had that. Obviously, running back's one of those positions that you can kind of sometimes expect to rely on a freshman. Like, they can pick it up. It took him a while to adjust to college life. Like, you didn't hear his name much at all last year. And it seems like with this new offense, he's picked up on it, and he's now 7-8 months into this offense as opposed to 6 weeks into this offense like it was in the spring. And you're starting to see why at some point during his recruitment he had offers from Northwestern and NC State and Boston College and things of that nature. So, I mean, Juranovic today said, like, hey, yeah, he's small, he's speedy, but when he needs to go between the tackles and go and run downhill, he's running downhill. So I think I've heard nothing but positive things so far.
Yeah, I mean, Juranovic straight up said he's one of the two guys, the other being Jagger Gardner, that's kind of separated themselves at running back. And obviously it's early. He said, there's still plenty of camp to go, and, this was only the second practice that they've had on any pads. But, I mean, he's definitely made an impression on the staff going back to spring ball and now going into training camp. He definitely has some momentum. We didn't see Tyreek Rayner out there. Not sure what the status of him is, but obviously there's some other guys in the mix there. We did see Jeremy Jennings out there, but not at running back. We saw him actually at slot receiver. Mike Juranovic had said that they like him at slot and they want to work him in there. So.
Yeah, he mentioned they're going to use him a lot in like bubble screens and stuff like that. So
which is kind of how the previous staff had talked initially about using him, and then they were like, I remember Ed Foley saying, no, now he's more a guy that will line up in the backfield. Right. So that's...
Yeah, I don't think you hear, okay, that he might end up playing wide receiver. I don't think they're expecting against Bucknell, Jeremy Jennings is going to know how to run a full route tree. I think you just realize that, like, hey, we can get him the ball in these situations in space, and at that point he's a former track star at downtown East, just to see what happens.
So here is Kyle Dobbins just talking during Tuesday's practice. Again, a name to keep an eye on if he can start to flash. Could be, obviously it's very early, as we've been saying here, a couple weeks left of camp, but maybe a guy that's going to get some carries heading into the opener against Bucknell. So here's Kyle Dobbins, a clip from Tuesday's practice.
I learned a lot throughout the first year. I came through a lot of adversity, coming in as a redshirt freshman, I just been learning behind Raquel Armstead. I thank him, Jag, I think all the Nitro, single digit, I appreciate them and what they did for me for this year and more coming. So.
Was it frustrating coming in because you obviously got all the carries in high school to come in and not get the playing time?
Yes, it was kind of frustrating. Trying to learn the system. The system was hard from the beginning, and I was trying to get the most help as I could, watch film, but it was hard for me the first year.
Was there a moment though where it clicked, where you realized, like, okay, I can make this adjustment, like this is still just football?
After the first season, like once it got to spring, like it just clicked in me, and I just been watching film way more than I ever have been in my life. I've been talking to the coaches, asking them for help, just studying my plays all the time. So that helped me on the field.
How about the fact that you learned one system last year and then a new staff comes in, you got to learn another one? How difficult's that been?
It was actually pretty difficult because the old system was way more difficult than this system. But I got the hang of it. I got the gist of it pretty easy.
Well, Coach, you mentioned that you and Jagger so far have kind of separated yourself in that group. Just how rewarding does it to hear that, to feel like, okay, my hard work is paying off?
It feels great, honestly. I just pray and do my best 100% all the time.
Do you have personal goals or expectations for the season? Like, do you have like a number in your mind, like this is what I want to get to?
Not really. My individual goals are secondary to the team's success. So, I mean, that's really secondary to me. That's always in my head, but my first goal is to win. Always win and be a teammate and help my other running backs succeed and move on.
right, so you guys also talked to Mike Uremovich today, and one of the things that he talked about, which has kind of been a theme, they talked about this in the offseason, was basically where they're almost intimating, like, yes, Isaiah Wright was underutilized last year. He talked to you guys about that today and basically said, what, I'd be an idiot not to get him at least 12 touches a game or something.
Real quick, kind of start out with that. You know what that reminded me of? Like, because this isn't the first time that they've made little, not like, I wouldn't categorize it as a jab whatsoever, but that's not the first time they've mentioned, like, we clearly have to do a better job of getting him in play. Reminds me of when Steve Adazio's staff took over with Adrian Robinson. Do you remember the last year, Al Golden, they were dropping him like into coverage
because they wanted to groom him for the NFL,
right? Because they figured, and they were right. Like the way he was going to make the NFL was as like an outside linebacker. Right. And their first spring in, they made comments about like, we're probably going to put our best pass rusher in the position to pass rush. Mm-hmm. It's the exact same stuff that's going on with Isaiah.
Shot at Mark D'Onofrio, who's gone on to be just a special defensive coordinator.
Yeah, Temple put on 56 points on his defense last year, which led to him getting fired. But it reminds me of that. I straight asked Mike Uremovich, I was like, it's easy to say that, right? Like Dave Patton said that and said, I want to get him 10, 12, 14 touches a year. My friend who's a defensive a year. That's what ended up being about a week. Yeah. He said, like, my friend who's a defensive coordinator, blah, blah, said you'd be dumb not to do this. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do it. So I asked Mike Uremovich, I was like, when you go into a game, what does that entail? Like, do you literally have a little tally sheet that says, like, how many touches are we getting Isaiah Wright? He said, yep, that's pretty much exactly what it is. I have a box. He's like, the last 20 years of me being an offensive coordinator, I have a box that I put my best players in. And I keep track and say, okay, I got to make sure when I'm on the bus going home today that I got him 12 touches or 14 touches. And what we saw in offense today, there's absolute truth to that. Mm-hmm. You saw him in split back formation. You saw him in single back. You saw him out wide. You saw him in the slot. You saw jet sweeps. I think they're going to make a very conscious effort to get him the ball in space. And, I mean, why wouldn't you? He's an All-American kick returner. He's shown the ability to be elusive in his 3 years here, and this might be finally the year that Isaiah Wright shows what Isaiah Wright can do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were just too many games last year where you walked out and you were just like, wow, you look at the box score and, how do you not get him more touches? Like, how do you not find a way, whether it's, giving him a few carries or, giving him a jet sweep or just something creative to kind of get him going, just because he's so elusive and so fast. I think the previous staff, for whatever reason, just wasn't able to get that going really last year. I don't know who that falls on. I guess it falls on Dave Patton, the former offensive coordinator. But, now it seems like Uremovich and the offensive guys are really conscious of the fact that they got to get him the ball. And, I think that's a good thing for this team. He only averaged 4 touches a game last year. That's pretty hard.
He never got to double digits.
Yeah.
You'd be dumb not to get him double-digit touches, and you never got him to double digits.
Excluding special teams, of course.
That excludes kick and punt returns. But still, nonetheless, it's really hard to believe, honestly, with his talent and, how good he could be this year.
And so here's Mike Uremovich talking to reporters, including Matt and Kyle, from Tuesday's practice.
I'm happy with where we're at in terms of the stuff being installed. I mean, we had obviously the winter to kind of start to teach it to them. Spring ball, we put most of it in, and then we still will get some of the things we didn't get to in the spring towards the end of camp here. But from a assignment and alignment standpoint, we're in good shape. Execution-wise, wasn't very good today. You put the pads on, things speed up, and the defense started blitzing today. So they'll get a chance to fix that off the film and kind of go from there. But overall, I'm happy with what the guys have done. They're working hard, is all you can ask.
What have you seen kind of with Isaiah's comfort level and the amount of different positions you guys are playing?
He's really comfortable. He worked really hard this summer studying on his own to learn a couple different positions because that's a guy that we have to get the football to. So he'll play inside, outside. He'll run back kicks, obviously. He'll get the ball on some of our jet sweep stuff. So I'd be dumb not to give him the ball 10 or 12 times a game.
How about as a running back?
Yeah, he'll play some running back. Yep. He will. How much running back he depends on how our other running backs show in camp. I mean, it's nice to have him as a security blanket there, but he also will play there no matter what we're doing just because it's a way to get him touches.
Obviously, it's a couple weeks down the line, but when you say, like, okay, I got to get Isaiah the ball 10, 12, 14 times, is that something when you enter a game you're logistically being like, no, I literally need to get him the ball 10, 12?
Whenever I've called an offense over the last 20 years, there's always a box on my sheet for the 2 best guys. Sometimes, hopefully, it's 3. That, hey, we have to make sure when we get on the bus today, that guy touched the ball that many times. I mean, if you give him the ball, it gives you a chance to win. But you don't want to get on the bus and say he only touched it 3 times. I'm not doing my job as a play caller, and we're not doing our jobs as an offensive staff if we don't get him and the other guys that merit getting the ball.
How about the quarterbacks? Anybody jumping out there?
I'm happy with all of them. I mean, Russo has had a good camp so far. Toddy obviously threw the interception at the end, but up until today, he had been really good ball security-wise, and Trad did a lot of work this offseason, a lot of work. And then KBS, he's a freshman, so he don't count. He got a long way to go.
Speaking about getting the ball, in the past, the tight ends haven't always gotten it a lot. Is there going to be more of an emphasis, especially with the way Kenny can get open? And
yeah, he caught a couple today. Yesterday, I think he caught 6 balls. I mean, our tight ends will catch the ball more in the pass game. That's just something that we've always done, and especially when you got guys like him and DMR, they can both catch the football and do something with it after they catch it. So they will catch balls, and a lot of the stuff is full field progression anyway. So if one's not open and the tight end's too, he's going to get the ball or vice versa. But Kenny's another guy that we have to get the ball some to. He can do things with it.
Outside of Isaiah, who have you kind of seen the running back position? Saw Kyle back there a lot today.
Kyle's done a good job. Gardner's done a good job to this point. And then there's a bunch of other guys trying to be the third back right now. But those are the 2 guys that are really doing the best job
They've kind of
right
separated
now.
themselves
To this point.
Right.
But all we can go off of is all of the data we had from spring. And this is really only our second practice. And I don't count anything when you're not wearing shoulder pads. You know what I mean? It's easy to look good when you're just running around in shorts and T-shirts. So today, both of them missed a couple blitz pickups, and both of them did a nice job stepping up and picking up a blitz. So they just got to keep working at it.
What about Kyle? Because he didn't really play it all last year. He came in, I guess he was adjusting. What do you like about his game?
He's quick. He's fast. He does good things with the ball in his hands. And when you watch him, the thing that I like about him, we run a lot of zone schemes and gap schemes, and he is downhill. When he decides to go, he goes. He does. For a little guy, he doesn't dance a lot, which is what we don't want. We want him to get downhill and get what he can get. He just needs to keep working. We ask our backs to do a lot. They line up as wideouts, they motion, they line up in the backfield. That's all stuff that we'll continue to have to work on with all of our backs throughout camp.
Speaking of that, Jeremy Jennings, where do you see him? Do you see him?
Right now, he's playing a lot in the slot for us. So he'll be a jet sweep guy. He'll be a bubble screen guy. He kind of was coming out of spring ball. We felt he could help us more playing wide receiver. But again, all of our receivers can line up in the backfield. So he can be in there in the personnel group, line up in there and get the football. But right now, for him to help us, we needed some more depth at slot, and that's where he can really use his speed and get him in the open field.
What have you seen out of Jose during his redshirt freshman year?
He had a really good spring. He got to play a lot because some of the guys were banged up in the spring. He's had a nice 4 days. I mean, he hasn't had as many balls thrown to him to this point as Isaiah and Mac and some of those other guys, but I'm happy with where he's at.
How about the offensive line? Obviously, you have most of those guys coming back this year, but any of those 2s or 3s kind of jumping out at you?
No, but they need to. I mean, our front 5 guys are our 5 guys. You'd like to have, when you're really good up there, you'd like to have a battle for who number 4 is and who number 5 is, and that means you got 7 of them. We got to get 6 and 7 to step up. There's a lot of guys in that mix right now, but that nobody separated themselves to say they're going to be the first guy in right now.
Is that a position that maybe you're comfortable or uncomfortable with maybe playing a freshman at?
Yeah, we'll play a freshman anywhere.
Right.
I mean, obviously that position physically is the hardest to play as a freshman because of maturity and strength and all that. But Coach Carey and I mean, obviously he's in charge of it, but we both agree. If you can help us, you're going to play. I don't care if you're a freshman or a senior or a transfer or a transfer, or I don't really give a shit. If you can help us, you'll play. So if there's a freshman that earns that right, we'll put him out there.
When do you kind of hope to have the depth chart kind of settled and set?
8 practices before the first game is when we get into Bucknell, and it's open until that point. And honestly, being new and some of the things that we do, that depth chart's always moving. It might be after week 1 or week 2. We've all seen guys go in there and play really well on special teams. Then you put them in a package, you throw them the ball, and next thing you know, they're your leading receiver. So that thing's never set in stone, ever.
And of course, you guys got time with Rod Carey, Temple's new first-year head coach. That's redundant, new first year. You get the gist of it. Yeah, whatever.
All dangerous.
So Rod covered a lot of stuff, as you guys had told me. Talks about how the defense kind of got the better of things Tuesday. The offense got the better of things on Monday. Matt, you asked him about the health of Randall Jones, and he said that he most likely, I guess, expects him to be ready for the opener. But we'll play this clip for you in a second. But what stood out to you about what Rod Carey said at today's practice?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the theme of the Rod Carey interview is that it's August 6th, that things are still really, really early, and then you kind of shouldn't put too much value in some of these things, but that the offense got the better of them yesterday, and the defense got the better of the offense today. So I do find it interesting that he talks a little bit about two big transfers in that secondary. He talks about Harrison Hand, about the impact. He had a pick six to end the practice today. He talks about Aaron Monroe, the transfer of Penn State's versatility, so that's something to watch out for. But, yeah, I think Rod Carey is pretty straightforward when in these interviews you ask him questions, he gives you the answers. There's not really much that he doesn't want to talk about if you press him on, so it's worth the listen.
And you guys said Harrison Hand really, your first extensive action, seeing him just really look the part today, right?
Yeah, I made the plays too, and he looks the part.
I think that's a thing. He literally looks the part. He looks like an NFL cornerback physically, and yeah, he made the plays today. That to be honest, I mean there was times last year at Baylor, whether it's via injury or whatever, that he didn't produce. So maybe you think, okay, well, is that going to come over to Temple? No, from everything we're seeing in spring or in the camp, it looks like Harrison Hand's poised for a good year.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised if he's not out there with Lynn McCrump as the starter at corner to start the year. I think he's in for a big year, and he looks the part. I mean, physically, he's just he's ripped. He's all that. I think he's all the hype that that comes with his recruitment going back a few years when Virginia Tech and Rutgers and all those other schools were trying to get him.
And he was basically destined to come to Temple, was going to commit, that week, and then Matt Rule goes to Baylor, and then Harrison Hand follows him to Baylor because of Fran Brown going on to Baylor.
The best thing that might have happened to Temple in those weeks after Matt Rule leaving was that Harrison Hand didn't commit to West Virginia. That he waited and he still followed Fran Brown to Baylor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
To when Fran Brown, because after that doesn't happen, he takes an official to West Virginia. I think he took an official to Virginia Tech too, maybe earlier in the year, but he didn't commit to either. Ends up following Fran, and then when Fran comes back 2 years later, you have a potential NFL cornerback on your roster.
All right, so here's the entirety of that Rod Carey interview from, again, Tuesday's practice.
First day of pads today?
No, second. Well, it's not quite pads yet. We're still in acclimation because it's half pack yesterday and today. First two were helmets. So second day of hitting, though, up front, because there's no – I get a kick out of the acclimation thing. Because as soon as an OD lineman puts helmets and shoulder pads on, there's no acclimating. Right. You're hitting, Now, you're just not cut blocking and things like that. But, yeah.
What's the difference in energy between, now that they have sort of pads on?
Well, it was great energy yesterday. Today, I thought it waned a little bit, to be honest with you. Defense certainly had the upper hand today. Certainly did. Yesterday, offense had the upper hand.
Boy, Harrison Hand looks like he's going to make a real impact.
Yeah, he's had 2 good days now. 2. And that's, so that is what it is. It's 2, right? Let's see if we can have 3. But I've been happy with him right now.
Obviously, the kind of elephant in the room is that running back situation.
Yeah.
Saw a lot. Saw Isaiah back there a bit. Saw Jeremy. Saw a bunch of guys back there. Kind of. Yeah. What have you seen the first couple days?
We're just trying to figure it out. Is what we're trying to do. We're trying to give someone an opportunity to step up and kind of take control of that situation. So. I got 2 days of real football kind of underneath our belt. I don't know any more than I did beforehand, other than I think, Isaiah has done that back there before. You can tell by lining him back there and doing it. I think Gardner is doing a good job, and I think Dobbins certainly has done a good job.
Just practice-wise, logistically, how do you handle that? Do you say, okay, I'm going to give Kyle...
We script it. Yeah. We script it. That's planned out. Like, we'll go back today, and we'll get a good plan for tomorrow again. And, actually... Our scripts have been done since about June, so it's just tweaking our scripts to who's earned more reps, who hasn't, and off the film.
Any of the younger guys jumping out? See anybody standing out?
Ramon did a good job today. Like, I noticed him a little bit. Just before I've seen the film, like, he flashed a couple times to me, and that's good to see.
Looked like Kenny got open quite a few times with that seam route. How's his practice kind of?
Good. He wasn't in there in the end. I think he got a little bump or a bruise or something like that. Nothing. I'm too sure. I haven't even talked to him yet, but I think he's coming a long ways, and him and DMR are coming. I like the way that those two guys specifically in the tight end room have done the last 2 days.
As far as your quarterbacks, what are you seeing early on? I mean, there's a lot, There was some missed passes today, obviously. Yeah. You're going to see that. Is it just a matter of getting used to everything?
Rust is what I'm seeing. And that's, like you said, that's kind of normal at this point. As a coach, you never accept that. So we're going to push to get that rust off and get that going. But Trad, the last 2 days, really the last 4, he's a lot more comfortable. So he's coming quite a bit, which is fun to see.
How about Freddie Johnson making that transition over the corner?
Yeah.
How have you seen him make that transition?
Good. His movement skills are good. His burst is good. I think he's catching on to it pretty well. Can he get in the mix yet? I don't know. He's got to execute at a little higher level yet, but that's not a matter of him not executing. That's a matter of him getting more opportunities to execute so that we can evaluate him.
What caused you to make that move, Rod?
Depth. And at the time we made it, also Harrison wasn't eligible. So now we feel like we have real good depth there, and that was the impetus of it.
What about Aaron coming over from Penn State? I saw him out there running with the ones a bit. Just what does he bring, just leadership-wise or seniority-wise?
Well, he's pretty quiet now. So the leadership question's a little different. Like, I don't know yet.
Right.
I got to figure that out. He's a really skilled kid, and he's fit in really well. Like, I hear him with the guys. They're back and forth with each other. And that part's been good. So as far as being a teammate, I think he's right in there. Leadership, I don't know yet.
What about as a player? I mean, he played safety for him. He played corner. He played a lot of different.
He's
spots
versatile.
for him, yeah.
He's got good fluid motion. I think he has real good speed. And I think he's catching. He's highly intelligent. He's catching on the defense very well. So he, like we were talking about Freddie, we just have to give him a lot more opportunities so we can evaluate more.
Looks like Randall Jones was off to the side a little bit. Is he still coming
He's
back
nursing it a little bit. This was his first day kind of doing some individual drills. He's working his way back into it. But I think I got to talk to him after today, how he feels after today. But it was good to see him getting back in and getting back into Indy.
You think you'll have him back for game one?
Oh, I would. That's the plan right now, as it's been explained to me. Now, plans, you can crumple them up on paper when it comes to injuries because they could respond good or bad. But that's the plan.
All right, so we mentioned some of the single-digit players. So now Brandon Mack's wearing number 1, Isaiah Wright's wearing number 2, Sam Franklin's wearing number 4, Chappelle Russell has 3, Sean Bradley's at 5. Those are the holdovers from last year. So number 6, 7, 8, and 9 are still up for grabs. They've talked again about how Matt Hennessy would have a single-digit, can't wear one as an offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. So if we were, you saw the taped. The clip from practice where Rod Carey was introducing it with not as much fanfare as Jeff Collins did it last year. We'd get all the guys together and stuff like that. But got them together at midfield, made those announcements. So 6, 7, 8, and 9 are still up for grabs, and Rod Carey had said there's still going to be more. So there were some guys that got votes, didn't get enough votes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Let's have some fun with this. If we were to venture some guesses, and we've done this on previous shows, previous podcasts. If we were to kind of guess to see who would get 6, 7, 8, and 9. Let's see, number 6. Or just start throwing some names
first
out.
Let's start off with the fact that I don't think this is ever going to be the case. But Carey says, like, if we don't get the votes to fill it, we don't have to fill it. Like, people need to earn these spots.
It's kind of like.
I think that's a bit of coach speak because I don't think there's any situation where he's like, I guess what? The remaining 80, like 79 of you none of you are worthy of single digits. Like, you all suck. I can't see that. I think some of the obvious ones to me, or the ones that are in the mix, I'll start off with Dan Archibong. Yeah, I think Dan Archibong has an inside track at it. Yeah. Zach Bezdey.
Especially with Jose Barbone being number 10 now on offense. It doesn't really change anything, but just move.
I think Harrison Hand has a good shot, honestly. I mean, we saw one of Fran's guys, Sean Chandler, come in as a true freshman, get that number.
Good point.
I think Harrison Hand, if he continues to show what he did today, I think it's going to be hard for those guys not to vote for him.
I'm going to throw out 2 other Fran guys, Linwood Crump, Benny Walls. We both have a chance.
And I would think, too, if Anthony Russo pretty much seems like a solid starter. And if there's no questions about that, I'd imagine he'd maybe be number 8, following PJ Walker.
So I think that would be a bit of a symbolic thing for Russo because of the PJ Walker thing, and also because again it's a new staff. Rod Carey could come in and be like, hey, the slate's wiped clean. Obviously, Russo flashed and won the job last year, but Jeff Collins talked all the time about how Anthony Russo was a different player, both on and off the field. He was taking things more seriously, cut some weight, kind of got adjusted. If he goes out and wins a single digit this year, that's a kind of a nice feather in his cap. Obviously, he has to still go out and produce, cut down on interceptions and stuff like that. But I think that would be a big step forward for him, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Younger guys, I mean, maybe not, but like Quincy Roche still has 2 years, but they've been giving him the underclassmen before, so. Yeah, I think there's some obvious guys on defense that have the inside track to it.
All right, so again, we'll have more, obviously, a lot more preseason camp coverage as the days and weeks go on here. Again, Temple's season opener is August 31st against Bucknell at Lincoln Financial Field at the ripe old time of 3 p.m., right?
Love 3. Do I love 3 p.m.?
I'd rather do a noon start, but I'm not playing.
I think I like 3 p.m.
I like 3 p.m.
I think you get rid of the excuse of, it's so early, it's too early for the students and blah, blah. It's 3 p.m.
Just start bringing a football this year to host our own, semi-athletic tailgates out of practice.
John's got a hell of an arm. He wants to just show off.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
less than you throw a football.
Last week at the beach. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Then it gets into the water, and then you're wiping the water off, and
You
then you
will
throw
sand
this.
on it to get some traction on it.
Yeah. What, have you have a good arm or no?
No, I'm just gonna be straight up. I do not. Well, when I was in little league, I had a decent arm then. But then everyone went through puberty, and it just didn't. I didn't catch up. Yeah, so my arm hasn't been great since.
Don't you give up faith.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You always have good hands?
Yeah, I'm good. At
Okay.
it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, John's the quarterback.
I like the idea of a tailgate. I don't know if I like the idea of an athletic tailgate. I don't think.
Why not? We'll just throw a couple just little dump off passes to you.
Yeah, that could work. I think
All
a
right.
spin move or something.
I've said this before that my turkey bowl thing is just slot receiver. It's just there's 3 times. I have decent hands. You take the hit across the middle, and then you just take a couple plays off. You find the one cornerback that doesn't want to cover, and you're we're good this time.
What kind of, if you were looking for a NFL equivalent to your slot receiving capabilities, are you like a Ricky Prohl? Are you like a Greg Garrity?
I'm like when you move the blocking tight end out into the slot. I don't want to say I'm Wes Welker, I'm Julian. No, you're not. I'm not that agile. I'm not Julian Edelman's a hell of a wide receiver. I'm when you're okay, Chad Lewis, go out to the slot and run a slant.
Chad Lewis is still pretty good.
Yeah, but he wasn't fast. He's just big. Yeah. You take the hit, you take the contact. I'm also, if I do play quarterback, I'm also the guy that scrambles and then just lays a shoulder. Because people don't want to tackle most of the time, and then you can get away with some things.
I'm a lot better as a defensive back when I'm in the turkey bowl situation because I've got the speed, the recovery speed. I can get up there and I'll just tip the ball away. I don't have to catch it. Just gotta jump up there and knock it away.
That's
I can do that.
So you've got recovery speed, but you just can't throw it.
I can't throw that well.
Jeez, you can play for Fran.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be a Fran Brown guy. He'd like.
Oh, we can talk about this. Let's talk about this.
Fran Brown.
Johnson.
Freddie Johnson. Freddie Johnson.
He's someone I'd written down if he does. Really compete for that
moved
spot.
over to cornerback. Again, you guys were there. I was not. It seemed like Rod was kind of cautious, and he did. What did he say? He was like, and again, we just played the clip for you guys, but he said, he hasn't really come along just yet, but it's early. He just seemed kind of lukewarm about it, but left it open to interpretation to say he could improve.
The interesting part to me is when you look at Fran Brown's history with that scenario. Mm-hmm. Nate Harrison was a very mediocre wide receiver who, quite frankly, was close to getting run off the team a couple times.
Right.
Switches to cornerback, puts all yard, becomes a 5th-round pick to the Colts.
Right.
Derek Thomas, similar thing. I vividly remember Matt Rule having a quote with saying Derek realized he didn't want to catch the ball, so we decided to move him to cornerback.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he ends up being. I think I actually posted on our boards he has a chance of making the Seahawks. They actually cut him already. Now he's with the Steelers. But I think he actually got some guaranteed money on that. So he has a chance in the NFL. So Freddie's got the size, he's got the speed. He's just got to learn how to actually play the position.
Yeah, and it took Harrison some time. I think that first year he was kind of, behind some guys like Archell Foster.
He was a 1-year guy.
Yeah. So that first year he kind of got his feet wet, got to sit behind some guys. The same thing with Derek Thomas. Derek Thomas really, he had a big year last year at Baylor, but that first year as a transition at Temple kind of took a little while. So, I think Freddie Johnson maybe down the road,
right?
Next year or even later this season that they could expect to get some snaps from him, but it's going to take some time.
I don't think they're necessarily expecting, against Maryland or Georgia Tech for all of a sudden Freddie Johnson to be playing meaningful snaps, but you're facing a very realistic scenario of replacing 2 cornerbacks, actually. So, 2 starters.
Yeah. As you said, he was a super fast. I mean, that when they signed him on signing day, there was the whole notion that Miami was maybe going to try to get on him late. So the speed's been there. Never really came together for him as a receiver. Actually, left the team for a week
Quit football
last season?
at one point, yeah.
Yeah. And then came back for a week. I remember talking to him after the Maryland game, and Freddie was one of the guys who's like, Coach Collins did a good job of keeping this team together. I remember he's one of the guys that we talked to afterwards, but if you can salvage a roster spot for him as a guy where you can utilize his speed, obviously, like you said, a lot of other things have to come together, the footwork, just learning the position, but they might have the luxury of developing him now behind a couple of guys like a Linwood Crump, like a Harrison Hand, like a Ty Mason,
Christian
Braswell.
You have that depth where you don't need to rely on him, but maybe later on in the season, if he could just give you a little bit of help as a depth guy, if a couple guys go down and get hurt, tweak a hamstring or whatever, you might be able to look to him by game 6, game 7, game 8.
Sure. Anyone else flash there? I mean, again, if you guys haven't had a chance to look at it yet, Kyle and Matt had a very comprehensive story of everything you pretty much need to know from Tuesday's practice. Anybody else we're not talking about here? I know they was it Uremovich who brought up Trap Betty?
Yeah, Trap Betty got brought up unsolicited, I think, twice by Uremovich and Craig Hartman, saying like he's really starting to take the next step. I think that's a situation where you're looking at when Anthony Russo leaves, maybe Trap Betty takes over this team or something like that. But he looked good. He broke off some big runs. The guy that kind of stood out to me, and I think a lot of this is a combination of just finally getting the opportunity to show this, is Kenny Yeboah. Yeboah got open a couple times on seam routes that seemed wide open, and he makes athletic catches. So this might finally be the year that, hey, he was wide receiver at Parkland, he was a 1,000-yard receiver at Parkland, puts it together that he has the ball skills to kind of put up some numbers in a more tight end-oriented offense.
So let's shift over to basketball, and then we've got some mailbag questions for you too. A lot of them are football related. So Temple's down in the Bahamas, playing some exhibition games, 2-0 so far. A chance for people to kind of just at least follow along, get a look statistically, some stuff online. In the game they won Monday, everybody played. They had a real easy time with that game. The stat to come out of is 83 shots in both games. So really pushing the tempo. They're playing 4 quarters down there. Obviously, a lot of basketball left to be played.
It's still 40 minutes though, right?
Right. Different, a little bit different in terms of splitting it up into quarters, but so far, again, these are exhibition games. But Aaron McKee has really pushed the tempo, has been able to try different lineup combinations. I mean, yesterday pretty much everyone played, right? Nate Pierre-Louis only played a few minutes, and the walk-ons played more.
Yeah, because
they obviously had some fun. Yeah. If you follow the team on their social media account, Josh Pierre-Louis had a real nice baseline dunk that he threw down. I think in the first game, Josh threw an assist out to Nate, so they're getting a chance to play together. So
yeah, they must have drank the water down there because they got the runs. So they're just coming.
Oh my God!
The stat I think
did that just come to you now, or were you waiting?
No, he's been holding.
No, I held on to it for about 90 seconds, but you didn't give me a natural pause. You just kind of kept talking, so I
didn't know you had that gem coming up.
Yeah, since 1980, I think it goes back further, but I only put out stats I'm confident about. So since 1984, they've only attempted 83 field goals in an actual game one time. And they've done it back-to-back times. Granted, again, it's an exhibition. They go up against Bahamian professional players, and they also have the benefit here of they can run a little more because Jake Forrester and Ty Strickland are eligible to play down there. That might not be the case during the actual season. You're getting Tim Waddington out there running a lot. It was just kind of everybody all hands on deck thing yesterday. But it seems like all the talk, Aaron's been consistent the whole time. They want to play an exciting brand of basketball that pushes it on offense, but really presses on defense. And from what we've seen, obviously we haven't watched all 40 minutes because do they even have the camera guy down there? I don't know. I don't know if it's not being streamed anywhere.
Yeah.
The box scores make you think that that's actually happening. So I'll be curious to see once we see more of that in person.
So only once since 1984 have they taken that many shots in a game?
That's what I said.
Did you tweet out the stat and I missed it about the exact game?
76 likes right now. Oh, no. But give me a second. I'll tell you the exact game.
So you don't know yet?
No, I know. I just don't. I didn't think it was consequential.
I want to try that.
Oh, you're gonna guess.
Decade is the
There's
90s.
no chance you're gonna get this.
You get the year.
If you get the team, then God help you. There's no way. I don't know the team.
West Virginia?
No. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that recent. The
thing that jumps out to
no
me.
Chance you'll get it. 1988 to 89 season against Rhode Island. The second most during that time. 79, also against Rhode Island in 96-97.
What were you going to say, Matt?
Did you realize Josh Pierre-Louis had a -19 the first game. Now he's a +24 second game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes that's just a matter of, okay, well, McKee's working in different lineups and trying different things, so maybe he was out there with the bench guys. But, I think you definitely sound like you got some good stuff from him. Obviously, Damian Dunn, another guy.
That might be the real star.
Yeah,
the first game.
He's looked like, the box score shows that he's college ready, as Aaron McKee has said now on numerous occasions. I saw him last week before they left for the Bahamas. We got a little bit of a glimpse of practice. Got to watch like the last 20 minutes or so, but he didn't look scared at all. He was driving right in, into the heart of the defense against Damian Moore and some of those bigs. And didn't look scared. Just didn't look like a freshman really. He's just smooth with his game. Looks like he can defend. He could rebound. So I think he might be able to help them this year a little bit. Obviously, they have some depth there at guard and some veteran guys, but I think he might be able to give them some minutes, especially early in the season where I think they're going to want to run and they're going to want to have maybe a 10-man rotation, 9-man rotation. That's a possibility.
I think that's the important part because if you want to run that much, you're going to have to roll out a bunch of guards. I think there's going to be plenty of minutes for guys like him and Josh Bailey.
I thought it was interesting, the one quote from McKee after the first game where he said, I thought early on in the game, Q was just out of sync trying to make the big play. I just wanted him to settle down and make the simple play because we certainly wanted to get the ball in his hands at the end of the game. That's exactly what you've been seeing from Q the last few years. He said he did kind of settle down and made some big free throws, made some big shots at the end of the game. But that's something that McKee's really honing in on, looks like, early on, just trying to make the simple play and not try to do it all himself.
And with Don, he could be, they've talked about we want to play with pace, Damian can kind of switch things up. Josh, if he's going to be, obviously he'll have some growing pains. If he's going to eventually be the player he was at Roselle Catholic, he's a quick, dynamic, quick twitch, get to the rim kind of guy. Damian's a little bit more smooth and can kind of work his way in. So you have some guys that can get to the rim. Again, they've tried a couple different lineup combinations. Again, I wouldn't tell people that what you're seeing down there is exactly what you're going to see during the season. But again, if there was a season where they needed it, it was this one where McKee can call some timeouts, mix and match things a little bit. So they've got one more game down there before they come back, and nothing really new on the recruiting front just yet. Still just one verbal commit in the mix, and Jaleel White. Obviously, they're still recruiting Tosh Sweet, Obina, and Akili Keelan out of West Virginia, the chess player from.
You.
Yeah, that was impressive. Good pronunciation.
You got it, right?
Yeah, you did.
Good for you, man.
The chess player who Graham talked to. So again, as more recruiting updates come along, we'll have those for you guys. We will shift things over to the mailbag. We've got several questions from the message boards, from Twitter, even a couple from Instagram. First one from the screen name WhatTU from the message board. I saw Damian Moore started the one game in the Bahamas, and John Rothstein tweeted a practice last week, that being possible as well. Did Moore improve a lot? Am I just shocked because I'm too high on Hamilton? Or is McKee just playing around with lineups and it's nothing to read into in August?
Combination of everything you just said.
Yeah.
I think, Damian Moore's a senior. He's had some big games in his career. He had 20 and 10 against South Carolina, right? And since then, it's been underwhelming. But I think it's a new regime. It's a blank slate for everybody. If Damian Moore, I would think maybe had to lose a little weight to if you really wanted to run with him.
I've heard that he's been working out. I've heard that he's been working hard this summer. I think I've heard some good things about him. I think the staff seems encouraged by him and the work that he's putting in. I think they think that he has a chance to help. I don't think they bank on him playing 24 minutes a game,
right.
26 minutes a game. But if he could just be a guy who comes in and gives them 14 good minutes, that's really what they need. And they don't need a ton of offense. Just be a good rebounder,
right.
Be a rim protector, and
I think that's the part that people kind of miss out on, and that McKee's mentioned a couple times. If you want to be a running team, you have to be a really good rebounding team.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to get the first rebound and kind of push it. And if Damian Moore can kind of play in that half-court set and be the trailer while running, then there's value in that.
Yeah.
I think if Jake Forster does get that waiver, there's a lot less pressure on Damian Moore. But if if he doesn't get that waiver, you're going to have to expect a lot from him.
Yeah, if he doesn't get that
Jake
waiver,
hasn't really played much down there. Again,
well, he played yesterday.
What, at 6 points in yesterday's
well,
game?
And that might also be a part with McKee with why waste these minutes on somebody that you're not sure if you're going to get waivers.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't get a waiver, then you're really relying on Damian Moore, Justin Hamilton, and maybe you're going to get something out of Erasmo Parks as far as traditional big men go.
Mm-hmm.
And then otherwise you might just have to go smaller where you play J.P. Mormon as a big.
Yeah, and the good thing is, Damian Dunn's good rebounder for a guard. Nate Pearley, really good rebounder for a guard. I think Monty Scott can rebound a little bit as a guard. And Quentin Rose obviously is long and lanky. So I think they have some good rebounding guards that are going to be able to grab that ball, kick it out and go. So, if they could just have one steady big man, I think they could go with JP, obviously, at the 5. He's a solid rebounder, but, they will have to be a really good rebounding team. Mickey said that's one thing that he'd like to see them, get better at, but, that'll be big. They can't run without getting that board. So, I think with those rebounding guards, though, that's going to be big for them. That's going to allow them to go small a little bit.
Well, it's a lot of what Houston did well over the last couple of years. When they came in here, 2 seasons ago and just completely destroyed Temple, they did it with a lineup without a player over 6'8".
Yep.
It wasn't like they had, Twin Towers or anything like that. So, if Temple can employ that same strategy, as you said, rebounding is an area where they really, really need to improve, where it just was really something that plagued the team over the last couple of years. That could be something to look at. Next question comes from Jeff MD49 on the message board. What does the running back situation look like? Is Isaiah Wright going to line up there? Who's the featured back right now? Kind of covered this a little bit earlier in the show, but again, as of Tuesday, August 6th, Kyle Dobbins starting to flash a little bit. Jagger Gardner, as Mike Uranovich said, it's those 2 guys right now, and everybody else kind of trying to basically fall in line. And we do know that he said, and again, all these coaches have been pretty transparent that yes, he could be lining up in the backfield. So
yeah, I don't know if you need to have a guy. I think you can manufacture a running game, whether that's through Isaiah Wright or Kyle Dobbins or Jagger Gardner, whether it's through Anthony Russo or Tyson Teo or Jaden Blue. I think you can find ways to be productive on the ground. I think ideally would they like somebody that is going to emerge, and Kyle Dobbins says you can give me 225 carries this year, then sure. But as of right now, I think they're going to rely on kind of a group effort.
And Carey didn't rule it out on media day when I asked, could Isaiah Wright potentially be a feature back? You just kind of use him as running back. And, I think that just shows that they're really open to anything. It's probably more of a committee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Graham, in 2002, 2003, the Eagles had a 3-headed monster.
Mm-hmm.
It was Corell Buckhalter, Deuce Staley,
Charlie
and
Gardner? Was Charlie Gardner? No.
It was Dorsey Levens.
He scored in the
number
NFC Championship
25,
game
yeah.
before.
So maybe it was a 3 then. But yeah, maybe you'll see something similar.
My buddy Andrew Goldstein is listening. He's been a guest on The Scoop before. Had a podcast with his buddy called Sorry I've Been So Busy. We've been Eagles fans growing up, and he at the time, years ago, he wanted the Eagles to draft Ron Dane, and he wanted them to employ the 3D offense. Deuce, Donovan, and Dane never took effect.
3K.
Oh.
Yeah.
Dang, South Jersey guy.
Yeah, Overbrook, monster. Doesn't he still hold the rushing record?
I believe so, yeah. I don't think
he was
anybody's beating
a beast. He was like a... What are you going to say?
Something I found funny today, kind of related to that, was I asked Brandon Mack about Isaiah Wright getting a number at the same time. He said, "Yeah, with a 1-2 punch." It's clever.
Did he smile and wait for praise?
Not really.
No.
Isaiah's probably not as amused
Hitting the
to
club,
us, but
the club circuit, comedy club circuit up in Cheltenham.
That was funny.
There you go.
I'm gonna use that as a headline.
Here we go. Next question comes from JHG 722. Is this the year we finally have a 1,000-yard receiver?
I'd say no.
I mean,
you could spread it around a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's. Yeah, I mean, I think you're spreading it around more. I think if anybody has a chance, it's probably Mac.
Yeah.
I think just because you're going to try to give him the ball in so many different ways, and Mac's going to be more. He says he's been playing a lot out of the slot, which he's comfortable in outside. I would say, but no, I would think it's probably more evenly spread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
1,000-yard receivers outside the SEC and the Big 12 is hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you look, I mean, I think you're going to be able to get the ball to the tight end a fair amount. I mean, with Kenny Boa, obviously, people know what he can do. And David Martin Robinson, I think they have some high hopes for him. Those guys, they're going to have to work the ball too. I think 300, 400 yards easily could come from the tight end position of the receiving game.
I think it's a good thing. I don't think having a 1,000-yard receiver means automatically you have a good offense. It just means if you're spreading the ball out to a lot of players that are getting the yards, that's what you want.
Mm-hmm. Next question comes from Twitter at Matt Deebs. Take a rough crack at the carries breakdown for Bucknell and for the AAC championship. So, he's assuming that Temple is going to be playing in the conference championship game in December. Rough crack at the carries breakdown for Bucknell first.
I don't know. I think you'll see. Jagger Gardner get 10, 12 carries. I think you'll see Kyle Dobbins get 7, 8, 9 carries. I think you'll see Isaiah Wright get 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, I can see that too. And if they're blowing them out like they should.
Yeah, they see. Yeah, Ramon Davis, Edward Sadie, or somebody come in there and just do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jagger's going to be the lead back at least to start the year. Maybe 15 carries game one. And then behind him, I do think that they could work in some of the younger guys. But I think Zay Wright probably ends up with, let's say, 4 or 5 carries. I think he's just going to be a complimentary thing, unless that's by necessity.
Right.
I think if somebody goes down at running back, then you might have to really look at him as a guy who could get double-digit touches. But otherwise, I think they want to keep him healthy, number one, and giving him the ball 12 times, 14 times a game. That's a way to get him hurt.
I think Jagger Gardner would have to have absolutely abysmal performances to not have a role in this team for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
He would have to go out and have 12 carries for 6 yards. If he goes out there and gets you 12 carries for 40 yards, they're going to keep giving him the ball sometimes. Just got means a senior back, he's a bigger back than some of the other ones, and they'll just see what they have from there. And he's had games where he's been sort of productive.
Yeah.
Last year, he had a game with I think he had 50 yards rushing and 50 yards receiving, and that's something that if you can count on that every game, you have a role on this team.
Before he got hurt, he had the
98-yard touchdown.
Yeah, at SMU a couple of years ago. I don't know if he quite has that speed left. No, it wasn't a fantastic SMU team that they beat, although that was kind of a shootout game, right?
This was, that was
2015, right?
That would have been
a shootout game.
That was what? Didn't they play that? They 60-40 against. I can visualize the quarterback. Wasn't that the game right after Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the get back game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday
and
night.
Rule going into it, I remember him saying I'm telling you guys, I don't know if I have a great feeling about it. Something along those lines. So.
But yeah. So last year, the 2 times that Gardner got double-digit carries, he had 52 yards and 56 yards. He averaged 3.9 yards per carry. He has shown some success at the college level. It's just that he needs to take that next step to really be the bell.
Yeah, and it would also help if he's improved a little bit as a receiving back, because if he can't really be a guy that can catch out of the backfield, I think they could look for a Kyle Dobbins or maybe even a Jeremy Jennings. They throw him back there because just doing some screen passes and stuff like that. Pick up some easy chunk plays. I think that would be something they look for in the running back. So if Jagger, isn't going to be a guy that can, have good hands and be a good receiver, I think on third down, obviously they could look to one of those other guys.
Next question comes from Twitter at Jamal Doman. What do you guys make of this Aaron McKie sped up / fast real offense?
It was a real offense, a shot at the Fran Duffy offense.
Yeah.
Because it has been a while since there's offensive identity on this team. No, I think it's what he wants to do. I don't know if you'll see its final form this year. I think you still need to recruit to that type of offense, and that's why guys like Jaleel White are being added to this team. But I think it's exciting. I think they're going to put up some numbers, and we'll see if it translates to wins.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's more about even having an identity, being a fast team, being a rebounding team that has some kind of chainy elements, but a lot of the modern basketball elements that Aaron McKie can recognize and make this team succeed.
Yeah, they're going to have to defend at a really high level, and that's something that they haven't really done over the past several years. I think you could say the past handful of years they haven't really defended at a high level, and that's going to have to change if they want to actually get on the run. Because it's all going to start on that end. It sounds corny, but they're going to have to really defend at a high level. They're going to have to, see Quentin Rose step up on the defensive end and some of those other guys. So, if they can step up, I think this team could really, I think they could win 20-plus games and be a tournament team. I don't see why not.
Yeah, I think Aaron knows, kind of been talking about this, that he can probably get away with this right now. I think he'll also want to dial things back at some point if they try to run like that. I think both Aaron and Chris have kind of expressed long term one of their goals would be, and I can't remember if Chris actually talked about this when he had him on the show here, but I know I've talked to him formally about they'd love to be able to play like Florida State. Now again, do they have Florida State athletes just yet? No. As you said, you got to keep recruiting to that. But if he can at least give it a shot now and say, hey, why not? Let's see what we got here. Let's see where we can get out and run. Again, I don't think they're going to be able to do that all the time, but you do have more athleticism this year than you had last year, so we'll see how that goes. So this next mailbag question is a tweet from the at the I Believe guy, Jack Fatika. So he took, I don't know if you're listening, this Yahoo Sports tweet, which table you sitting at. So this is a visual. I don't know if we'll go right down the line here. So it basically has a bunch of famous people sitting at these lunchroom-style cafeteria tables here. So we'll just go right down here. So table 1, that is Ellen DeGeneres, LeBron James, and is that Mike Leach? Table 1.
It's a good start.
Table 2, The Rock, Greg Popovich, and Venus Williams?
Okay, you're done with this. The Rock, Greg Popovich, and Serena Williams. Number 3 is Beyonce, Steve Kerr,
because I got Serena Williams. Yeah.
and Pat Mahomes.
Yeah.
Number 4 is Tom Brady, Snoop Dogg, and
Joe Madden.
5, Jim Harbaugh, Drake, and Mike Trout.
Manager of the Phillies next year, Joe Madden.
Yeah, people would blow their minds. See Joe Madden handles lineups. I don't know. I think they'd have to go too conventional after Gabe.
I think we need some baseball.
6, Chrissy Teigen, John Gruden, and Kawhi. 7, which actually looks like a 1, but I guess it's 7. Andy Reid, Alex Morgan, Ryan Reynolds. 8 is Guy Fieri. I always say Fieri, but it's Fieri.
Is it really?
Didn't know that. Bill Belichick and Megan Rapinoe. 9 is J.J. Watt, Oprah, and Coach K. 10 is Steve Kerr, Taylor Swift, and Nick Saban.
Okay, I'm gonna guess. Can I guess your table?
Yeah, sure.
Your table.
Nobody's
Taylor
picking
Swift.
number 9, right?
No.
You're guessing 10? I'm not 10. No, not 10.
Come on.
I see.
You used to have, when you lived with me, you had something called Music Video Monday, and you and your good buddy, our good buddy Paul Mufarah, who is one of the kindest human beings on the face of
That's
the
like
earth.
the 17th time you dropped Paul on this podcast, and every time it's just the kindest man.
Yes, he's great. You guys would have Music Video Monday, and most of the videos were Taylor Swift videos. And you're going to tell me now you have the opportunity to sit at the table with her and you don't
So
do
I
it?
think meeting Taylor Swift would ruin Taylor Swift for me.
No, apparently she's like ridiculously nice.
I could see that. Yeah, but
like my friends got to meet her last year, and she doesn't do like $200 meet and greets. Like they were picked out of the audience with like 20 other people.
Also want to ask you after this, like you did meet Miles Teller?
Yes, I did. I shook his hand.
You know he's not like really from downtown. Right?
Yeah, that's what I heard. But still, I said Downingtown. His eyes
like he's like he was born downtown, then he went to like
he moved straight away.
Yeah, he moved away.
But I said Downingtown, and his eyes perked up and turned around. I was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Downingtown West Class."
I just watched. What did I watch with him? He was the boxer, that '80s boxer from Boston that broke his neck or Rhode Island.
Come on.
And he was back like 7 months later.
But
it was decent. It was okay.
I saw him in that buddy movie with Michael B. Jordan and Zac Efron, where they all like agree to this pact to be single.
Oh, I didn't see
and they're
that.
living in New York.
That was stupid. That was a bad movie.
See, and I watched that like 3 times, but there are other key movies I haven't seen. Anyway,
He was
you're not
He was
going.
also in the remake of Footloose.
He was?
Yeah, he was the Opie friend.
I had no idea.
Yeah. But he's not that Opie in that, but he's the Opie friend.
Second sort of Loggins reference on this podcast.
I will
this week.
say...
So you're not doing table 10?
No. I want to go last.
You want to go last? Graham, you go ahead.
I'm going to go number 7. You got Andy Reid, who's the coach of...
the profanity problem on the show.
Why did I go last? I wanted 7.
I got it. I mean, you can sit with me. But you got Andy Reid, the coach of my childhood. You've got Alex Morgan, who's just a straight-up boss. And then you got Ryan Reynolds, who might bring Blake Lively along. Ryan Reynolds, but Blake Lively.
I think Ryan Reynolds is fine on his own.
He's okay in his own, but, he doesn't do that much for
I think you were a little too... This isn't meant to be a jab at you or making fun at Graham being young. I think you were a little too young for Ryan Reynolds. Like, there was like a period in like early 2000s where Ryan Reynolds was in everything.
That's fair.
He was
I
in
missed
Waiting.
that.
He was in Just Friends with Amy Smart, who Amy Smart just disappeared off the face of the earth. She was also the girl in Road Trip, so you saw some stuff in Road Trip. I would say similar stuff. I would say 7, just because, Andy Reid's coach of the Eagles. There's so many, like, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the fact he lost 4 NFC championships. Let's talk about what was the decision like for this, and, like, things like that. Have you figured out how to do time management? No, you haven't. Why do you wear Hawaiian shirts to the coaches meeting every year? Like, things like that. Alex Morgan, no, Graham, you can't sit with me while I sit with Alex Morgan. And, Ryan Reynolds, I think, is charismatic. Maybe he brings Blake Lively. He's good on Twitter.
Yeah.
Talking about Just Friends. He wore a fat suit a while in Just Friends, and they get skinny.
I think Harbaugh, Drake, and Mike Trout are my number 2 table.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
Why do you want to sit with Drake?
That's why I didn't pick him, but like Drake, at least interesting.
I like
Toronto.
I like the Popovich table. I think that's a sleeper.
Pop.
I like Popovich. I've heard all the stories that you hear of him. He likes to drink a lot of wine. He sounds like a cool guy, honestly.
We discuss politics very well, me and Popovich.
Well, Popovich and Kerr are leaning over from table 2 and table 3 just to smoke Donald Trump.
That's what killed me with 3, though, is because, like, if I'm in this cafeteria, I don't need Steve Kerr telling me about this stuff right now.
No, that's not what I would say.
I'm just here. I'm trying to puncture the... Wait, by the time you went through elementary school, what was the milk? What was it contained in?
In carton still.
The Rosenberger's milk?
Did you guys not have the pouch?
No,
I had basically... It was like you took... And this was Euclid Hills. This was downtown school district.
You went to Euclid Hills?
I went to Euclid Hills.
Yeah.
It was a little milk pouch. It was basically as if you took like a a Ziploc bag and you filled it with milk, and it's like a little water balloon full of milk, and you
That's
stabbed it.
That's
with
what
a,
Canada is.
Yeah,
You
never
don't
seen that
buy
before.
cartons of milk in Canada. You buy bags of milk.
It was
and put them in the
phenomenal
pitcher.
because the best thing is like as like a kid, well, like the chocolate syrup would pool up at the bottom, so it gets a little like more condensed. But then you could poke your thing in and spray milk at people, like if you just squeeze it, just shoot across.
You spray milk at people, and then they would just smell like sour milk the rest of the day. So you're already a smelly elementary school kid, and then you get home, your mom's like, "Oh God."
Sounds like a them problem. I'm over here spending 35 cents on milk and do whatever the hell I want with it.
Wow.
I think the sneak sleeper to me. Have you done yours yet?
Yeah, I said the Popovich table,
Popovich
and the
table.
reason is, as an NBA fan, a huge NBA fan, I want to know what happened with the Kawhi thing. I want to go back to that.
true.
Like, what the hell happened there? We still don't know that story.
You also have to Rock and Serena in that one.
Yeah, well,
And with the Steve Kerr table, I would love to talk to Steve Kerr, but I feel like Beyonce would not talk to you. Like she would just sit there and not talk. She's way above us. And then Patrick Mahomes is cool, but
The voice I think would get annoying. Like Patrick Mahomes' voice, I find it funny at first. When you do sound like Kermit, and then like, no, why do you put?
Well,
Patrick
he also, I forget who put it on Twitter. I think like there was this thing when he was really getting good last year, and people were saying that he looks like Darlene from Roseanne.
Oh God,
which is very funny to me. I forget. Oh, what's the actress's name who played Darlene? But if you put them side by side, he actually does look like her. It's very funny.
Sarah Gilbert.
Yeah, Sarah Gilbert. I would almost pick. So I'm going to try to pick a different table. I think sitting at table 5 would be highly entertaining just because of the vast personalities there. Where like just Drake and Mike Trout, and then just Harbaugh feeling awkward the whole time and just not mixing in there.
No, I disagree with the dynamic. I think Harbaugh rules that table.
I feel like he's the one who's going to be the leader.
Not that he doesn't have a dominant personality.
No, I think he's relatable and like alpha enough that like he's going to dictate the
you think so?
conversation. Like
Trout and I would just talk Millville.
I would ask my Trout like, why do you keep getting touchdown balls, man? Like I get it, it's cool. I love that you support the Eagles. I get that, but like stop getting the balls, man. Like if I had to see Zach Ertz come over again and bro hug you and give you a touchdown, like there's plenty of kids this would make their life.
Yeah, true.
And you're just like, another one for the vault. It's like he's giving it to people. I think the sleeper to this is number 1.
Number 1.
Mike Leach is out of his damn mind.
He is, yeah.
So but he's still a football guy. Like he'll really break down like a lot of like this is how you would exploit this defense. This is why I do this.
And Ellen is hilarious.
Did you see? Ellen's funny. I think LeBron's the number 3 on that.
Yeah,
like, I don't care
exactly.
about
And I love LeBron. I would love to talk to him.
I think the Mike Leach. Did you hear what he did for? He teaches a class in the spring. What he did. He legitimately had them get into groups and like draw up like offensive plays, and he just like legitimately. This guy's making. He's a Power 5 coach. He has all these offensive records. He's like legitimately evaluated why they wouldn't work. I mean, some of them he's like, maybe I'll run that in practice, see if that actually like works. Like, phenomenal. Love Mike Leach.
You think they talk about that on every TV broadcast?
Yeah, seriously.
My sleeper table is 6. To sit at a table with Chrissy Teigen, Gruden, and Kawhi would also be very fun. Now, I
think there's a big drop off there.
Me too.
You think so?
I think Gruden is on like a tier of them. No, I think like one-on-one talking to him.
But like,
I think I'd be able to talk like John Gruden. I think I'd like to hear him. Chrissy Teigen. A lot of people are really good on social media. Might pale in comparison in person. I don't know. Maybe she's one of those people. I get it. Your husband sings a lot. Your
husband sings a lot.
You eat pizza.
John Legend, you sings a lot. Yeah.
And Kawhi is just a waste. Like,
what if Kawhi just laughed? Does Kawhi laugh the whole time?
He's not going to talk to you. He's just going to be on his phone.
Nothing will even make
or eating an apple.
Yeah.
I think 7 is the right way. Though 7's the one I think I might clam up at though. 7 and 10. 10 out of 10.
8 is tricky for me because I love Megan Rapinoe, but I'm just so annoyed by Guy Fieri.
Guy Fieri's apparently like a really good dude.
Is he?
Like,
okay.
Like when there was all those fires going on in Arizona and stuff, he donated like 7 figures worth of food, like catered for like the first responders and stuff.
I think I'm more annoyed by his fans than actually
Leave it to
him. So yeah, maybe that'd be interesting. But Bill Belichick he wouldn't talk.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of these people like. Yeah, if they all had to take a serum where they had to like answer all your questions and tell you truthfully, a lot of these people just
right. Like 10 and 9, like Nick Saban wouldn't talk.
9? You think Oprah's talking to me? Oprah's not even making eye contact with me.
I feel like Oprah might.
No,
she's nice enough. So
everybody
gets getting Stedman to come over and like take me out. Yeah, and JJ Watt, like I don't give a shit about you. Coach K, I've already.
Kyle's second for Friday.
Coach K, do you guys call him Dump too? Like, I'm Dump this man. Like
Kyle Gauss
spent 10 years
mows down the royalty of college basketball. First it was Jim Boeheim.
Why do you keep dyeing your hair? Go gray, man. Like, you're old. You're like 72.
My mom's been saying this Drew Brees. Just let it go bald, man. It's just, it looks so bad coming over, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, Good question there from Jack.
But, like, if Drew Brees hasn't removed the birthmark yet, like, he's not going to care about that.
Yeah,
Drew
that's
Brees
true.
doesn't care what he looks like. Every time, like, somebody makes a comment to me about anything, I'm like, who do I impress? Like, I don't give a crap. Like, I'm here. I'm wearing clothes. Like, it is what it is. Someone, like, a coworker will be like, you haven't changed in a while. Like, I don't.
You always say, I'll be lucky if I'm wearing pants.
Yeah, I'm looking for wearing pants.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah. All right.
Wait.
A couple more questions here. Got a couple from Instagram. Only one of them was really legitimate. You guys jumped into the mix there. You can read those if you
read
want.
that one too.
That's all right.
The one legit we got from Christian Evans. In your opinion, who was the first guard off the bench this hoop season? So that is, well, let's do. Then we got to assume that we're all going to settle on a starting.
No, you don't have to assume a starting. Like, I think that's part of the question.
All right.
Is who do you assume is going to start? That dictates it. I'll say I think it's Damian Dunn. Even though he's starting down there, I think that Monty Scott will eventually work his way into that, and Damian for his first game against Drexel will come off the bench.
Yeah, I have to imagine. I don't think Aaron McKee game one at least would start Damian Dunn. I do think you could see more starting lineup changes as you did in past years with Fran Dunphy. I think you could work that around, but yeah, I think Damian Dunn would be the first one. I think Josh Pierluigi also is a candidate there.
Do you guys remember the only freshman guard to start opening day in the Fran Dunphy era?
Only freshman guard.
What?
No, because he didn't get in until December.
He didn't start all that year? No.
No, I'm saying first day.
Oh, first
season
day.
opener. Only person.
Come on. Ryan Brooks. No? You're going to give me the answer and I'm going to be like...
I'll say, despite reports to the contrary, he did not make the trip to the Caribbean. Lonnie Moore.
Oh, right.
That one did not pop into my head.
Yeah, they started him and he hasn't started since his freshman year.
Right.
His freshman year.
You look at his freshman year numbers. Like he shot
shoot.
40+% from three. Yeah.
But for that reason, that's why I was going to say Josh Pierluigi. I don't expect him to start, but I do expect him to try to use him a lot. Maybe eventually start starting.
Who's your starting five then?
I'll go Nate, Monty, Q, JP, Justin.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I have. And then with Nate, Q, Monty, Justin, JP, with Damien coming off the bench and Josh and Dre. Although
now, if Jake gets a waiver, do you think he starts?
No,
I don't think right away.
Yeah,
not right away.
Dre Perry might start.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I mean, Aaron likes him. They like his defense. I could see Dre being a guy who benefits from a change at the head coach position, and I don't expect him to be a double-digit scorer, but he could end up being one of those guys where Aaron's like, we like his length, we like the way he starts the game, something like that.
He's going to be physical enough that in transition that might really translate for him.
Yeah.
I don't think you want to see in full steam Dre Perry slashing to the hoop if you're a defender.
Yeah, and he has more of a ball handling ability than JP. I think he could put it on the floor, and you're almost playing with four guards at that point.
Yeah.
What are those other Instagram questions? Are you not?
Yeah, give me some.
Let me pull them up real fast. Do you want to ask the other real one first, or go to the rest of the fake?
Yeah, give me the real one.
So I'd love to hear the specifics on how Carey's practices are different from Collins.
He was asking, do you want to read the last real one on the sheet?
That's what I was at before we go to that one. Is that one from Instagram?
Gotcha. The last real one from the message board. Yeah, well, we'll do that one
from the message board.
Okay.
But the other one's on Instagram. Tom Magnudo wants to know, does Tom have the most beautiful voice on the staff? He's asking for a friend.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No. I just want to... We should have one podcast 30 minutes long of him just reading like a bedtime story or something and just be like the Tom Scoop.
So we're walking down McDade Boulevard. We see a sandwich shop. We say, let's go in.
That didn't sound like Tom at all.
I don't know.
That sounded like Brooklyn Gangster or something.
Yeah, but like Brooklyn, Delco, not that far off.
No, yeah, but I think that's
similar.
I love you, Tom. That was my best
obvious
crack
answer,
at it.
Tom. Yeah.
Matt Bender wants to know, is Graham the softest member of the Al Scoop staff? So what exactly do you mean by that? First of all, go ahead.
I mean, it's really all about how you interpret it. How do you interpret it?
You don't eat stuffing on Thanksgiving?
That could be, I don't know.
Kyle has something to say here.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for a second I was actually trying to think of a reason to say no. I was trying to think of a reason to say like John's the softest.
Thanks,
but no, you.
Yeah.
I think you take sporting losses very, very much to heart.
I do.
Like you get very. I love that about you. You're very enthusiastic. You're high with the highs and you're lows with the lows.
I feel like you're giving him a performance review.
But God, you get low. like you are spiteful on Twitter. You send
Twitter?
You send some like
I try not to be spiteful.
You send
on
some
Twitter.
angry some angry tweets. When I get those tweets or texts, I'm sorry. When I get those texts, I just got like, I'm just living in Graham's brain.
Yes.
Like that's just fine. Like I'm just sitting there. I was eating ice cream in Ocean City, Maryland. I'm getting like.
The thing is, I wouldn't ever think of you until John purposely brings it up, and then I get annoyed. But I mean, I've been great.
I've been very gracious.
I
have not rubbed in anything.
I can be spiteful over text. But I always try to be calm on Twitter. I don't think I've done much on Twitter.
You remind me of like 9-year-old me, where I would just get so upset.
Awesome.
I would break into tears.
I was gonna say, let's go around. Let's share our most most devastating sports losses of fans.
Sport. There we go.
Well, I would probably cry over a Wednesday night regular season Sixers game, and it would be irrational.
See, I never got to that point. I think the last time I cried was remember when the Eagles lost to the Cowboys in the playoffs in 2009. That one I took personally. But I think that's the last time I ever remember crying over a game. But the one I took to heart the most was 2011 Game 5 NLDS. Doc gives up one run and they lose 1-0 to the Cardinals. The only team that had a winning record against them that year. They could have chosen to let the Braves win the last game of the regular season and played the Braves in the first round. Yeah. Remember the Braves had that collapse, and the Phillies had let them win that series. They would have played them in the first round. They probably would have beaten them. And instead, they chose to let the one team that had a winning record against them, because they were chasing the 102 win mark, which would have been the franchise record. But they already had everything else set up. They could have lost that series. And
they would have crushed the Braves that year.
They would have crushed the Braves.
That was good Jair Georgian.
Instead, the red-hot Cardinals got in because the Phillies swept the Braves in the season. And it's fun to knock out your division rival, but it felt wrong in the moment, and they lost. And that game sticks with me because they were down 1-0, and you just knew that they weren't going to get that one run against Chris Carpenter.
I have a few that I can think of that are embarrassing. Like you, I would take sports losses very, very hard when I was younger. Like, I remember 1983 World Series, the Phillies lose to the Orioles. I don't know if it was Game 6 or Game 7. I distinctly remember going up to my bedroom, ripping up a Tug McGraw baseball card, which and I'm like, he's dead now, so I feel bad. I remember we moved, and we were living in Pittsburgh at the time. I was a Phillies fan. We moved to Downingtown, and I was really excited to watch the Eagles, but then some games would get blacked out. That's when they used to black out games if they weren't sold out, and then would come on. It was a big deal.
It's just, I think you still do that. It's just not. It's never a factor.
Right.
They almost blacked out Minnesota's playoff game where the Eagles were playing them. They weren't selling games.
But usually it was like, this place picked up the remaining tickets or something like that. The Eagles in 86 and 87, they were so bad, and they would give up a record number of sacks and stuff like that. One game they lost, I can't remember what year. This is really embarrassing, but you get an allowance for doing chores and stuff. I took my allowance, whatever it was, over the last couple of weeks, like $10, $15, donated it to charity.
$15 in 1983?
I don't know.
No chance. That'd be like $35 now.
No, this was 87, 88-ish still. So, donate my allowance to charity when I'm a student at Euclid Hills Elementary. The Eagles lose. I go up to my room, and I'm crying over some loss. And my mom comes up, and she's like, "Are you crying?" And no. She comes in, she was like, my mom basically says, you got to get it together. You're probably more upset than some of these players are. And I was like, I just really wanted them to win, and I prayed that they would win, and I donated my allowance to charity, and I thought that would. My mom's like, first of all, that's not how it works. Second of all, I gave you that allowance money to spend for little things around school. Please, it's a really noble thing, but that's not going to help the Eagles win. So that was embarrassing. For a while in high school, like the Pirates for a while, like those late 80s, early 90s Pirates teams, watched the game with my dad. My dad is from Philly. Huge Pirates fan, still likes them. I don't know why. The game that they lost to the Braves. Sid Bream. I just sat there, and we just sat in silence after the game. That was tough. And
you're already giving 3 when we asked for 1.
I know.
So
I just went off there.
I would say for me, it's the 2008 NFC Championship.
Yes, the Jervicius game.
I was good.
No, that was the Cardinals.
It's the 2008, 2009.
They go up 1, bombed Deshaun. They go up 1. And then Kurt Warner leads them back. It upset me because I remember I probably told this story before. My dad told me it was in Jacksonville that year. He was living in Atlanta. You'll come down. We'll go to the Super Bowls or Tampa. Are you sure it was in Jacksonville?
Tampa, for sure. Okay,
and then Florida, and then Springsteen was playing halftime. It was gonna be a great little experience for me. Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner with his goddamn shopping cart wife, who's just sitting there smugly Well, look at Mike.
I'm going to piggyback on that because it counts as one. But have I told you about where I was for that game and what happened for that one?
Oh, yeah, the ticket scam.
Yeah, so that game we went down there was the most exciting moment of my life. It's
the video
of me
so
finding
good.
out. And I think that's my peak cuteness. And yeah, got down there.
You said, "Oh my God," and your mom said, "Don't take the Lord's name in vain."
Don't say the Lord's name in vain.
Yes.
Yep.
You've never seen this
Does she
video?
listen to this podcast?
What is that?
Does she listen to your podcast?
Yeah, sometimes. I'm
Your
not
mom
sure
must
she
be a
listens
Kurt
to the whole
Warner fan then. Huh?
It was tough, but no. So
You've never seen that video?
Maybe. I think
Oh God, it's so
I'll have
good.
to pull it up.
It's so
But oh my God, I was so excited. I've never been more excited. And then we got into the stadium. They were so good. They passed. My uncle didn't buy them until he used his friend's ticket scanner, who worked at the stadium, and said it was good. And we got into the stadium, and then we got up there, and someone in a Steelers jersey ended up sitting in our seats, which even made me more mad. But we got kicked out, and then from the Marriott across the street, that's where we watched Kurt Warner come back. I mean, the Eagles made a really big comeback in that game to get to that point, and then Deshaun made that incredible catch. I remember jumping on my dad's back. I was like, it's happening, whatever, and then crushing.
I mean, back to the original question of who's the softest. I think it's Graham. I mean, I used to be soft. I cried in middle school once when I got a test back in geometry, and we're going. You used to go through the answers to make sure the teacher graded it right, and she graded something wrong, and I got the answer right. And I cried there about the notion of having to tell her like,
"Oh my God,
you're wrong."
Yeah, I don't cry though. That's the thing. I physically just don't cry, even when things are ridiculous.
I mean, I probably got
it's annoying.
Yeah,
I don't try not to cry. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I get I do like the silent cry. Last time I cried legitimately was when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and that was like a silent cry. Meg just said it was like you were crying without tears.
That's the thing. People were like, "Why didn't you cry when the Eagles won the Super Bowl? You're not happy." I was like, "No, I've never been this happy. I just can't cry."
I cried once in elementary school for you had to bring desserts in. This is kindergarten. You had to bring desserts in for your birthday, and I was bringing in chocolate cupcakes. And the day before, I'm telling people I'm bringing chocolate cupcakes, and some kid told me I don't like chocolate cupcakes. I like vanilla better. And I cried about that. And I went home and cried again. And my mom said, "Don't worry, I have a recipe that we can change chocolate into vanilla." In reality, she just fucking went and bought vanilla frosting and frosted it again. But she told me, "Oh no, don't worry, I just flip a switch and there we go." I cried about that. I used to cry a lot. Now though, hardened by the world, cynical.
You cry at your wedding?
Yeah, I did cry.
Yeah,
I got a little choked up giving the vows. I still get choked up at the big moments. Like I'm sure I'll cry December 29th, hopefully, tax baby. I'm sure I'll cry January 10th when G baby comes into the world. But until then, soldier. Just gotta keep going.
I can see why people think I'm soft. I just think emotionally though I'm more hardened than I even should be sometimes.
I thought you were like, I asked for one, I got three, and then you go cupcake this, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, there's some moments.
So for you, it was the hard.
I still remember
losses.
the teacher too. She was this redheaded girl. She was probably like 24 by the time. I thought she was probably like 40 because you think every teacher's old. And she was just like, she asked me like, she took me in the hallway and basically asked me if I was getting abused at home.
Oh my
Because like
God.
she was wondering like
Got dark.
why are you afraid to talk to adults? Like we were just gonna have a conversation. Is there a reason you don't like to talk to adults? And I'm like, oh. I just know what the isosceles triangles and angles should have been. I don't know what to tell you. Give me my 74 instead of a 72. Wasn't good at geometry.
Well, anyway, and then I also asked when Matt Vender's going to throw the Al Scoop barbecue that he talked up on the podcast a little while.
Well, I just found out that our grill is currently out of commission, so we're going to have to figure that out before we have any cookout.
Grilling season's almost done.
Yeah, we better step on this.
Like we're in football camp.
I don't want to be standing out on the grill in 100-degree weather. Anyways, I'd rather it be like September where it's a little bit chilly.
You know how quickly these next like 3 months go. That's why like in my mind like
it's already Christmas.
In my mind, the baby's already here. Like, because like once the Eagles start and Temple starts, like those weeks fly by, and next thing you know, you're like, oh crap, yeah, it's Thanksgiving. Oh crap, it's Christmas. Oh crap, that kid's here. You know, how long do you think babies sleep in the room with you?
This is a different
just,
house.
Just a couple months, right?
I thought it was like 8 days. I thought I was putting them in their crib like after a week. No, it's like 4 months.
Yeah.
They sleep in your room for like 4 months, just there, just hanging out. Why am I making this nursery for the first 4 months? You're not in it, kid. We'll talk to you next week.
Well, we got. We do have a couple more questions. We have one from Pat Egan. We'll finish with his. It's a bizarre one. We haven't heard from Pat in a few weeks. And then this one from Berkshire Al. Do you think the up-tempo style of play the team exhibited in the game so far, meaning in the Bahamas, will impact recruiting?
I mean, I don't think recruits. We can't even watch these games, so I don't think they're.
Right.
I mean, they might be. They might see a couple clips on Instagram or Twitter or something, but
I mean,
I don't think it's drastically swinging anything.
Yeah, I think he's framing it as like, do you think that they're going to get better recruits because they want to play in the system? I think it's going to impact recruiting in the sense that you're going to have to recruit to the system.
Right.
You're going to need these athletic guys that can kind of handle the ball. Like you can't go with traditional bigs and stuff like that. But I don't think you'll see the effects of it one way or the other until a couple recruiting cycles from now.
I think Aaron McKee will pull a Phil Snow and be like, with Avery Williams, be like, hey, I wouldn't have recruited that guy.
I was thinking about that walking into that. Legitimately, I was thinking about that walking in when he was like, I'm going to tell you straight up, like I would have never recruited you. Like, because he used to say, like, you make an exception, once you make too many exceptions, like, your defense crumbles.
Yeah. Phil was great in that he'd be very nice, and then he would just throw barbs. Try to remember, I coached Pat Tillman, so with all due respect to this guy or whatever.
Well, somebody asked if Tyler Metcalf was the best player you've ever been around. He was like,
I openly cringed at that question. I pulled that guy aside and was like, hey. I didn't,
would you rub his nose in it afterwards? Like
No, I didn't rub his nose in it. It was a
Temple News guy?
student. No, a student journalist at Temple, but not a Temple News guy. Then here's Pat's question. This is a doozy.
Oh boy.
oh boy.
Or what about
Again.
McKee 1? Do you want to ask for that one?
What's that?
Did we ask
Oh,
McKee 1?
jeez. I keep forgetting this one. Okay, McKee 1 from the message board. Sorry about that, McKee 1. I'd love to hear the specifics on how Carey's practices are different from Collins. We touched on this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit. They're just traditional football practices. There's individual drills. There's team drills. I'm sure they'll have a very traditional scrimmage. There's not much dressing to it. They're just playing. They're practicing football.
Yeah. I mean, I think, just refer to what we said at the start of the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, there's still, I think I put this on the board, there's still profanities. There's still rap music being played. There's still, like, energy. It's just traditional football energy.
And I will say, like, I think Kyle and I talked about this on the sideline. Like, you watch the defensive coordinator, Jeff Knowles, like, it's a different vibe. Everybody has their different coaching style. He doesn't seem to be the type of coach, and maybe this was just a particular practice, but at least in the practice that we saw, he wasn't the type of guy to get in people's faces. So, that might just be his style where he'll pull a guy aside or, point it out in the film room. So, everybody has their different styles. Phil Snow was the guy that would get on you in practice. And, you would hear him when you were at practice.
You never really saw Andrew Thacker, like, get on people. He was just vocal and, like, hyping people
jump
up.
around and run with the guys. And, everybody has their different style. But, it's that might be one of the biggest differences is the actual coaching style.
Right. So this one from Patty Egan, again, our friend from 97.5 The Fanatic. First question, this is sent in via text. First question is, do you foresee any other positional changes with the footy ball team? That's a good question.
It's a good question. I don't
like a fringe.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure you'll see some. Like, you always have the ability with somebody like, if it doesn't pan out, somebody like Wisdom Corshi or Chris Banks or somebody flipping to the other side of the line. But like as of right now, I don't expect anybody in the next couple weeks to make a big move or anything.
Yeah, and we've seen in the past like a guy flips to linebacker.
Right.
Maybe we see that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you see a situation where like they get dinged up at running back and Jeremy Jennings goes back to being more of a traditional running back. Like there's things like that, but no, nothing major.
Yeah, especially like I think if you're going to do that, you do that at the start of the camp.
Right.
You don't do that, or even in spring ball. I don't think you're doing that mid camp or
especially when it's not like you're returning an offense that knows this offense and you're just figuring out things. Like the entire team's continuing to learn this offense. I don't think you want to switch things up.
I'm just looking at the roster now. I can't really. Well, I mean, I don't know if this really counts. Everett Sadie, we kind of mentioned him earlier. We thought maybe with the previous stuff he was going to come in as a defensive back. He's coming in as a running back. I've heard a couple people mention his name to me just over the past couple weeks.
You saw some snaps today with the
Twos. I don't
think so. I think the consensus is no.
Yeah. All right, so that's part one of Pat's question. Part two, second question is, what would you rather be killed from? Drowning or appendicitis caused from getting punched in the gut and trampled by 30 to 50 feral hogs?
Oh, so that's this damn thing? What? So can somebody give me like a 30-second summary of this?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what the original tweet was, but it was about, there was a tweet about gun control, and it was like talking about the merits of having it for hunting and for like how rural people can use guns. And someone replied, "Real question for rural people who use guns for hunting: how am I supposed to take care of the 30 to 50 feral hogs in my yard while my children play outside?" And this guy, I thought, was just like some
I didn't know that.
I thought he was like a crane kicker kind of guy, like someone who's just saying random stuff. He's like a libertarian who's like from the middle of the country. Like he may have been serious about this. That's awesome. But that tweet blew up. It's still up there. It's got like 10,000 likes now, and it's become a massive thing. So I would choose the feral hogs.
I think the feral hogs.
Drowning is just so much better than drowning.
I told somebody the other day how I'd like to go out. This girl that suspects me at work came in and she was all distraught. She's like, Kyle, I ran over a pigeon on my way to work.
I did that on the way to graduation.
I was like, did you just not fly out of the way? Like, she like got caught in your thing? She goes, I was driving in on Broad Street and I saw it and it was eating a bagel in the middle of Broad Street and it's pecking and it's pecking and it's pecking and at the last second it looks and the last thing it saw was my tire as I crushed its skull. And I said, there's
that's
a lot.
That's great eye level. She saw the tire hit.
What?
I know.
I said, if you're asking me, that's not a bad way to go. Gluttonous and then bam, just instant. Just like me eating something, I'm walking a crosswalk and then just done. Out.
Mm-hmm.
Lights off. It's the end of Sopranos. Am I alive? Am I dead? You never know. I'm dead.
Well, I don't think I'm drowning. But I used to be a lifeguard. I feel like I could swim. I'll take on the water.
Oh, I'm terrified of drowning. Like I'm a good swimmer, but like that was always my worst fear going into a boat when I was little with my uncle and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm gonna fall off. It's gonna be a thunderstorm.
You can float in water. Like
you can
sharks
float, but what if it's the
everywhere
panicking
now?
part?
Yeah.
And you know,
Right.
after a while, you're gonna get tired if you're out far, or if a big wave hits you, and just breathe it in, then you're stuck.
That's always the thing with me with swimming is I'm not like a great swimmer, but I'm always like, oh, I'm feeling okay. And the second I get any water in my mouth, I'm just like, oh, panic, like,
right.
like I hate this.
I'm very scared of like any sea creatures though. If I see like a fin or something, I run out of the ocean.
I saw a bunch of dolphins actually in Maryland last weekend too.
Oh well, I like those, but they're harmless.
Sharks are hitting the northeast region of the country hard now.
I'll take my chance with a shark.
Yeah,
I'm not saying like I'm gonna beat up a shark, but like if I saw a shark, whatever.
They're not usually after people. They're not coming to you know.
I think you see a shark come at you.
Nat
Can't get
Geo
out. What are you doing?
podcast.
What are you doing with the shark? I think I'm punching the shark. I'm doing the punch in the nose thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking a swing at the shark.
I'm trying that.
That's supposed to be their weak spot, right?
Sure.
That's what they say. Yeah.
I'm taking. A
If it's
whack.
coming at me, if not, I'm running. Like I think I can get out of there.
Yeah, I think I would I'd go with feral hogs. I don't have
I
much
think I could
that.
beat up a feral hog though too. Like
What
one on
could
one.
you?
What is
We're
a
talking about
feral
one
hog?
feral hog or
30 to 50.
oh, that's a
50.
lot.
No, that's a lot.
If they all queued up and they're lined up and there's 30 to 50 of them all with tickets and it's me in like a football field and I'm just the second I beat up one, the other one comes, I'm taking out all 30.
But it's not like a
It can't
stampede.
be
I'm
that
thinking more of a
orderly.
Lion King situation where they're gonna run over you.
I watched the new Lion King.
And decide it's
I mean, these things are pretty big. Like they're not tiny, but like
no. I think we're choosing death here. I'm not gonna beat the feral hogs. I'll try, but that would be a better way to go. A more noble way to go.
it's like the old thing of like how many kindergartners do you think you could beat?
Right.
Oh,
like
man.
Yeah,
start
I'm
punching them.
constant.
Jeez.
Like I'm taking. We're gonna have like after World War II there was a gap in children because so many men died in Russia. So many men, Russian soldiers died. They didn't come back. There was a dip in population,
Right.
a huge increase of women percentage-wise. It's gonna be like that with 6-year-olds if it's me versus 6-year-olds. It's gonna be an entire just generation of there's a gap year. Like we just don't have any 6-year-olds. We don't have any
Because you
6-year-olds
killed them all.
because I'm just.
My cousin just turned 6. That scares me.
Yeah, and
Kristen's son.
Yeah, and do you think I could beat up that kid?
Oh yeah, you definitely could. He's
sure.
so smart, but you can beat him up.
Exactly. So,
We gotta end up
welcome to
happy
Thunderdome.
note.
I was happy. It's me succeeding at a challenge put in front of me.
With a Mad Max on Thunderdome reference.
I actually never saw that. I just know, like,
I saw it years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
That movie scared me. So did Red Dawn.
yeah, because you thought Red Dawn was real. Because you're not the smartest.
I didn't think it was real. It was just scary. I went.
I thought you told me that.
No,
you,
here's what I did. Okay, first of all, this is like 80s John DeCarlo living in
We'll
Pittsburgh.
see you next week.
I was gonna say, I think
Yeah.
he's done.
No, I'm telling the
You
story.
tell it off the mic. We'll see you
No.
next week.
No, I'm telling the story. See Red Dawn, freaks me out. I go up and talk to my parents. I like get up real early in the morning. I go up and tell my parents, or ask my parents, "Are we safe?" And my mom's like, says to my dad, "Why?
Like,
I
if
told
you're-
you
but
not to
you're not.
cancel."
Like you could get hit by a
Definitely not.
car.
Yeah, she told him to cancel HBO. Red Dawn, if you've seen it, if you're an 80s era kid.
That's like, dude, 80s, 90s HBO was great. Taxi Cab Confessions, Real Sex. Dude, he took a lot out just because you had made some dumb comments about Red Dawn. You ruined your
Taxi
teenage life.
Cab Confessions. All right, anyway, thanks for sticking with us down the stretch there. Thanks to all of you for listening, for the various mailbag questions. And stay tuned. We'll keep you updated through camp. We'll have more coverage throughout the week, and we will talk to you soon.